Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be working on a 2011 Buick Enclave, and we have issues. So the check engine light came on, and on top of that it was a cylinder 3 misfire. So I ended up buying a scanner. That's how I know it's a cylinder 3 misfire, and I'll show you what this little scanner is. Alright, so this is a scanner that I bought. It was only 30 bucks off Amazon. Pretty cheap. So what I'll do is I'm just going to plug it in, and it plugs in right here. Alright, so with those codes, you don't want to erase them because you won't be able to diagnose it. So we're going to go to the Obd Diagnose, hit enter. And right now it's just reading the ECU and every code that is stored. So we'll let that wait just 1 second.
Put that away. Put your scooter away.
Alright, so there we go. You can see it has completed 8 of the scan steps. It literally scans everything. So what we're going to do is hit enter. And then read codes. Enter that. So this is the current one, the pending. So we're gonna hit this current one. P0303, cylinder 3 misfire. So that's what we got to deal with. So what we're gonna do is I replaced the back 3 spark plugs. So I'm gonna end up replacing the front ones. And I'll show you the check engine light. So we'll start it up. And this car does have 143,000 miles on it. See right there, check engine light. I'm not gonna let it run too long because I don't want it to heat up. Alright, so the engine is still cold. I didn't let it run for too long. But with that misfire, the RPMs were just sitting there bouncing when we were just at a stoplight or getting food, and then it would just be really erratic, just up and down, the whole car would be shaking. So we're just gonna change it out, and to do it, we gotta take apart the intake manifold. Alright, so what I'm gonna end up doing is disconnecting the intake box, get that taken care of. Got to take off the oil cap, and then I'll be able to take this cover off fully, and then we can get to the upper intake manifold, and we can start disassembling some of those items up there. Alright, so we got the oil cap off. Now we can take this cover off. It's just little clips. Top of the intake. Set that off to the side. So now what we'll need to do is take off this intake hose. I'll loosen this up. We'll be taking off this one too, so we have room. And then with this guy right here, there's going to be a little tab. You're going to want to push this tab out and move it down, and then you can just pull it right up. There we go. Thank goodness I didn't break it. And then this tube just comes right out. There's no clamps or anything on it. And then now you can remove your intake, just the boots. Alright, so now that we have that off, now we need to remove a couple of these hoses and get them out of the way. I'll need to get a socket on here. I'll just start taking off all this stuff. So I'm not going to show that, but they're just go through and look at the little clips. And then this piece we'll just pull right out. And I'll just undo all this real quick and then show you from there. Alright, so we got some of the lines disconnected, as you can see. I moved these connections out of the way. This is the positive going right from the alternator. This is part of your ECU wiring harness. I just put them on the other side of your power steering pump. And then these are going to be a 13mm bolt. And we're just going to crack them loose. All right, so you have these 5 bolts, and then there is one back here. I want to get in there, Brian. You see right down there, and it's just going to be a smaller bolt. All the rest are the same size. And then disconnect this connector. I believe this is for your evap. And then with all those loose, should be able to pull this intake off. And then you're just going to have to work around your wiring harness. And then yes, I left this line on because I really don't want to disconnect it and deal with that. And you can see the bottom of your intake manifold. So all I'm gonna do. What?
Is there supposed to be sand coming out of that?
No, that's all the dirt that is right down here.
Oh.
Okay, so now that we got a visual of the top of the motor, you got your rear coils and then your front coils. And these coils will not come out with this intake manifold in the way. So I have already replaced the rear coils, and I did that. That was pretty easy. You can do that with the intake on, but now we're gonna have to work on just getting these coils off. And the cylinders should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So I was having a cylinder 3 misfire. I'm gonna hurry and change out these ones, and hopefully it's just the spark plugs and not the coil itself. And these should be a 10mm. And all I'm doing is just breaking it loose. Some of them are a little bit. If anybody's wondering, it's really not that bad to take this intake manifold off to do your own spark plugs and coil packs if they end up going out. So just take your time and you'll be able to work on through it. It'll save you quite a bit of money because the shop's gonna charge you. They'll probably say this is like a 2-hour job, maybe even 1 hour. So there's $120 right there, depending on what the shop rate is. So just save yourself $100, $200, $300 and just do it yourself. All right, so now that we have those bolts out, now I'm gonna disconnect the coil packs from the wiring harness, and they're just little tabs. You just push the tab down and wiggle it back. You can see the tab right here. I'll pull that back, and now you can just go through. I like to give it a little bit of a twist, and there we go. And this is your coil pack. Your ECU sends a signal to your coil pack telling it when to fire and ignite the fuel that's in that piston. So I'm gonna keep these in order. It probably doesn't matter because they're gonna be the same, but just in case, I don't want to take that chance. And you can see it's pretty simple. Not that bad of a job. It's not taking too long. Get a shot in there, Brian. All right, you can see there's our spark plugs. And it looks like in cylinder 5, there might be a little bit of oil down there. And that could be from this tube. It was leaking a little bit right here. And it could be dripping down through the coil pack and onto the top of the spark plug. Loosen up the spark plugs. All right, I'm gonna finish taking out these spark plugs and show you what they look like. All right, so these are the spark plugs that came out of it. And Obviously that one's pretty bad, soaked in oil. This was out of cylinder number 3. I know it's pretty burnt. That was out of cylinder 1, and this was out of 5. So in the future, I'm gonna have to take off the valve covers and replace the O-ring for the little tubes that go around the spark plugs. And I'm using the AC Delco. They're a 41-109. I'm just using the original parts. And they do come pre-gapped. And the reason why I'm using this guy is because my spark plug wrench, the rubber O-ring came out of it and it won't grip onto the spark plug. I'm just gonna feed it in. Once I get it in there, I can spin it on. All right, so I ended up just getting this on here, put it on, and I'm just went hand tight. And now all I'm gonna do is probably a little bit less than a quarter turn. I'm gonna snug it up first. And you don't wanna go too tight on your spark plugs because you are going into an aluminum head and you'll strip it. So now I got it snugged down, I'm just gonna do probably like a quarter to an eighth of a turn. Not even that much. I'm just barely twisting it past the point. As you can see, that wasn't too much. Just enough to where they don't back themselves out. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is place these coils back in exactly where they came from. And it doesn't take much pressure to put these back in, but you do want to make sure they are seated all the way down. Give them a little bit of a shake. And then at the same time, you need to be mindful that you do have your intake opened up, so you don't want to drop anything down in here. I would recommend you put a rag or something over this, so just in case you drop a tool or a spark plug, because if you drop one down in there, your day is going to be really bad. You're going to have to grab a magnet and try and fish it out. So now we'll put our 10 mil bolts back in. Zeus? No. All I'm going to do is just get it started. You always start the bolts by hand first. The last thing you want to do is cross thread it into the aluminum head. And you got to re-tap it. You don't want to do that. Go to where it's snug. I'm going to do that on all of them. I don't know what the torque rating is on these, but it's not very much. I mean, it's a little plastic housing. You will crack it. So once I got it snugged up, I'm just going to do just a little bit of a turn. And you got to think all it does is just have to hold it down. You don't want to do too much because you will crack it. Now we're just going to plug the coils back in. And you'll hear it click. You can probably hear that on the camera. Get it closer and see if you can hear it. You'll hear it click right here. And all 3 of them are clipped in. So now it's time to put this intake manifold back on. It may take you a second, just be patient with it. There's a lot of parts on here that are fragile and you don't want to ruin your intake manifold gaskets. So now I'm just going to grab these bolts and I'm going to run them through. And you can see there's little black washers on these. Some of them are still in here. I want to zoom in on this right here. You can see there's that little black washer, and then on this one there isn't one. So there's nothing right there. So make sure you're not double stacking them. That won't be good. All right, I'm just gonna start screwing these down hand tight. Make sure I get a couple threads on there first. All right, got a couple threads on all of them, and then same thing with this guy. So now I'm just gonna go snug on all these. And once again, it's aluminum. You will strip this out. It's not like it's holding on your car. Do not tighten it too tight. I'd recommend getting the torque specs, but not everybody has a torque wrench, so I'm just gonna go snug just so they don't back out. Go through and check the top ones. All right, so now all those bolts are in. All right, so now we're just gonna slowly start plugging some stuff back in. So I'm gonna move this wiring harness back over. And anytime I take a bolt out, I try to put it back in its stock location so I don't lose it. The less bolts you have rolling around, the better off you'll be. Less chance that you're gonna lose something. Start plugging everything back into where they go. And then all right. Now we got this tube. This guy needs to come over. So now it's just a matter of plugging everything back in. All right, so now that we have every connection on and it is secure, looks like this one's up just a little bit. There we go, got it pushed down. So make sure this port is up on top. Work that over your mass airflow sensor. Now we can go ahead and tighten these down. Brian. Almost done, dude. So, and that's all you gotta do is just start plugging everything back in. Get that clipped. The other end of this tube goes straight into the top of the valve cover gasket for your breather. Now that we have that all plugged in, we got every sensor plugged in. Now we're going to put on the cover. While you're at it, I already know I have good power steering fluid level. Check your power steering fluid while you have everything off. Just makes it so much easier. Just clips right in. And you put your oil cap back on. Alright, so as you can see, we got it in. She's running good. So now, I mean, it is cold, you can see the temp. So now what I'm going to do is go in here and reset the codes. So I'm going to plug the scanner in and reset it. Alright, so I got the codes erased. Now I'm ready to go drive it and enjoy this. Alright guys, so hopefully you enjoyed it. Yeah, I got some grease on my face. This video, it didn't really take too long. Just take your time. You can save yourself a lot of money. I've got quite a few other videos on Buick Enclaves, replacing the power steering. I've done the AC compressor. I got a couple other items that I'll be doing. I have a bad blend door actuator. So that's where you turn your heat or cold. It will not go to hot or cold. So that blend door actuator I got to replace. So I'll do another video on that. So if you have any maintenance that you got to do on your cars, I got quite a bit of information on it, a few videos. It'll help you guys out. Appreciate you guys watching this. Hopefully it helps you out. Please leave some comments down if this helped you or it didn't. What would you guys like to see next? Just support the channel, subscribe to it, like it, share these videos if you want to. That'd help out a lot. Other than that, thank you for watching.